Hello guys, this is my second report regarding that methodology which I am testing. I call it 80-20 according to the title of the book, but the idea is how you could build like a solid foundation for your health, for your general fitness, and using the kind of easy training approach, because 80-20 principle states that 80% of your training is supposed to be low intensity but high volume, and I will explain details later. If you haven't seen, by the way, my first report after first 3 weeks of training, please take a look, because it will be much more clear. I explained some details, but in this video today I will briefly kind of refresh the whole idea. So as for now, I'm training 7 weeks. So my first report was after first 3 weeks. Now I'm 4 weeks more into the training, and I implemented some small changes. I will explain everything in details when we jump into the computer, and I will show you all the numbers. I think it's important to explain in details what's going on. But for people who didn't see my first report, I just want to tell you that I am training in the countryside in France. And by the way, let me show you my laboratory, some kind of my training environment. If you could see here, well, that's pretty much where I am kind of running every single day practically. If you remember, the first 3 weeks I was running every day, 10 kilometers per day. So the first 21 day or 21 sessions, running sessions, end up in 210 kilometers of the volume. And starting from the week number 4, like week number 4 and number 5, I decided to increase a little bit volume, and once or twice per week I was running, instead of 10 kilometers, I was running sometimes 14, sometimes 16. So yeah, a little bit longer. And I felt that actually that increase of volume, somehow my body, I felt tired a little bit, so I decided to also introduce 1 day of rest. So as a result, I switched from 7 working days, I mean training days, to 6. So 1 day per week I am resting and not running. But as I said, some of the days I'm running not 10 kilometers but longer. And after 2 weeks of that kind of training, I implement 2 more changes. First of all, I increased, because I felt like things are improving, I increased the baseline. By baseline I mean the minimum distance which I am running. Before it was 10 kilometers, and starting from week 5 I am running 12.5 kilometers, so it's almost like 8 miles, and that's actually minimum. And some of the days, of course, I'm running 16, 14, or sometimes 17. And also in the second change which I introduced, implemented from week 5, was the interval training. What it means is that sometimes during runs I'm applying that 80-20 principle not just to the total runs but inside of the run, which means that not all the session is like equally have an equal intensity. 20% inside of the session I am increasing volume a little bit, increasing intensity. So for example, in a 10 or 12 kilometers run, approximately 2-3 kilometers I could run a little bit faster. Again, I'm monitoring everything using my kind of heart rate monitor. So interval training is that part of your low intensity training you actually use for a little bit high intensity training, but not the highest, of course. So that's how I was training. I've been training for 7 weeks, and 2 days ago, because yesterday was the end of the week 7. And when we jump into computer, I will show you the precise number, but I'm just gonna explain what was the test result, because 2 days ago on Friday I decided to give it a test, and instead of running using my heart rate kind of indication and keeping heart rate in certain level, I decided, what if I run the way I feel? So meaning not paying attention to the heart rate monitor anymore, but just keep very easy, comfortable, but kind of run, but where I am not holding myself, not kind of doing everything according to the monitor. And I decided to run as long as I feel like. So as you can see in the computer, I will show you the details, but the result of that test after 7 weeks of training, I honestly believe it's quite remarkable, especially keeping in mind that I would say I am perfect laboratory mouse, for that kind of experiment. Why? Because, well, first of all, I have no training experience in running. So yeah, I have some level of fitness in other areas, but I never been really properly kind of running. Last time I ran, it was last summer, and it was more like a warm-up before some other kind of martial arts training or whatever. So I was never regular running or have any kind of strict routine or any kind of goal or whatever. And before last summer, I haven't run, I think, for 10 years or more. So I'm perfect in terms of zero fitness in the running kind of area. And second is that I'm not 20 years old. I mean, I'm 55. So for all those people who have excuses like, oh, I am too old, or oh, I have no fitness, or oh, it's like all those excuses, I think, would be kind of perfectly dismissed. And that's why I decided to test, because I think my kind of experiment potentially could help people to start kind of their fitness general improvement, because if I can do it, definitely everyone can. So I totally attribute all results not to my kind of natural talent, because I have zero natural talent in running. Believe me, if I had talent, I would know already. I'm already kind of 55 years old. I know where I have talents and where I don't. So I'm not endurance runner for sure. I used to play football when I was kind of in my 20s, but football is not kind of endurance training. It's more like a sprint and then rest. So I used to run sprints a little bit, but it was 30 years ago, 40. Anyway, so the result. Well, first of all, as a result, I ran on this Friday, I ran 26 kilometers. 26 kilometers in an easy, comfortable, nice run. And the whole session was 26 kilometers, which, if you know, the half marathon is 21.1. So 21 kilometers is the half marathon. So I ran 5 kilometers more than half marathon. But I decided to check what actually would be my time, just for curiosity kind of purposes, of the half marathon. So as a result, I stopped my kind of watch, my timer, just for the split of second after 23.1 kilometers, because it would make it easier to calculate. The first 2 kilometers were kind of easy warm-up run, and mainly kind of uphill, because in the countryside there is no really flat, it's always going up and down, and as a result I don't have like a steady. The first 2 kilometers we need to kind of subtract from the total time. And to my surprise, the time of the half marathon run was below 2 hours. Obviously, it's not like super kind of great result, but please remember, first of all, I'm running from zero level. I'm totally amateur, and I'm training just 7 weeks. And My birthday, by the way, 55 years old, was 1 month ago, so I kind of consider that I started at 55. So everyone, please consider this methodology, this 80-20 principles of low intensity, high volume methodology is actually really interesting to look into. Please don't dismiss, because to my surprise, after 7 weeks of training, I can maintain an easy way the half marathon run below 2 hours. And it is a really easy way because as you can see, I'll show you in the computer as well, that first of all, I have no preparation to this particular run. First of all, it was done kind of in a 26 kilometers kind of distance, so it's just kind of part of the bigger run. Second, I have no previous preparation for that. It was just part of my weekly routine. And very next day after this particular run, I again ran my normal routine, I think like 14 kilometers or something. So it has like a no impact whatsoever. It was not a race. It was not a competing kind of speed. It was an easy kind of pleasure type of run. And it was already below 2 hours. I could easily imagine that if I really push, if I would be competing, well, probably 10-15 minutes kind of I could still kind of get better. But I really want to emphasize that the time is not really important. As you can see, my heart rate during the whole 26 kilometers kind of run was around 156 beat per minute, meaning that it's actually within 80% of my highest kind of heart rate. So it was a steady, kind of pleasurable run. And I don't know what you think, but I think the result after 7 weeks of training is really remarkable. And I totally 100% attribute this particular result to the methodology. So, well, if the first 3 weeks I would say it was preliminary results, this result after 7 weeks already quite decent. And I really think that methodology works, and my intention is not to stop. My intention is to continue. As you can see, for example, by increasing volume of weekly runs, the last week was already 90 kilometers per week. Well, meaning that this particular last week I ran half marathons 4 times just in 1 week. So it's actually really kind of already, for me personally, high volume training. But fortunately it's low intensity. I still maintaining 80% of my runs in a very low heart rate kind of level. So it's very enjoyable. And there are 2 conclusions I could make and I want to make in the end of this video. First, I think methodology works. I think if you really want to improve your general fitness, if you really want to make your heart strong, if you really want to have a foundation for your health, please consider this 80-20 principle of low intensity and high volume kind of training as something really worth look into. And that's my conclusion for you. Take it on board, find that book, or read some material about low intensity high training and consider it as something which might work, because for me it worked. Second conclusion I would like to make a little bit more kind of not abstract but more global. Before to dismiss anything, in my case I really didn't believe that jogging, kind of almost like running with a speed where I possibly could even walk, could have any kind of powerful impact on my general fitness. I always thought that those kind of slow runs, to be honest, kind of bring almost nothing. And now I I changed my mind completely. The methodology and 7 weeks of my training proved me wrong. So my first conclusion is that before to dismiss any methodology, test it. And try different types of methodologies, try different approaches before to make any judgments or any conclusions about anything. So that's my like a first kind of general life kind of conclusion. Test without any judgments or presuppositions, test and see before to dismiss anything at all. The second one is that I really think that much higher probability to implement a change if you find methodology which allow you to do things kind of with ease and be kind of like enjoying the process. I mean, why, for example, I was able to continue training this way? Because there is no struggle. It's just a easy, nice, pleasurable runs every day. It's not really a big deal. And that's why I could continue. I really, if you imagine 90 kilometers per week, it's like, remember that I have 1 day of rest every week. So as a result, I'm running 6 days and 90 kilometers is like 15 kilometers every day. How I could keep up, how my body, I'm 55 years old, can keep up with that kind of, runs? Well, because it's easy. It's no really intensity in those runs. So that's why when you consider to start something or to start some program, or please search and try to implement methodologies which you enjoy, which somehow easy to do. Because if it's hard, if it's struggle, there is a much higher probability that you're gonna drop at a certain point, because it's just too much. And so that's my second conclusion in terms of choosing different ways, because sometimes there are different ways to reach your goal. So stick and kind of have a bias towards easy ones, enjoyable ones. So that's my second conclusion. And the third one, like a general advice, is that be very clear about your motivation, why you do what you do before jump into it, and also add as much value to things you do as possible. What I mean is that, for example, I'm very clear why I started this program, because I really believe that the hard training, the general fitness training, endurance, it is a really proper foundation for everything. And in my martial arts training, yeah, I have kind of strength training, flexibility training, but in terms of general fitness, endurance, I was not training at all. And because I believe it is important for health, so I am very clear why I started. Second thing is, I discovered that those runs for me become a meditation. And this is another value which I see from those runs, because I'm focusing on breathing, I'm focusing on relaxation, I'm trying to I'm monitoring my heart rate. So as a result, I'm totally present and paying attention to how I feel. And I do it for, 1.5 hours, because each session, running session, because it's a high volume, kind of long distance runs. So 1.5 hours of meditation on the top of fitness training, it's a great value. I don't need to find any additional time for meditations anymore, because 1.5 hours of meditation already perfect. Combined with the training and fitness training, for me it's like a double value. And also I am running in the countryside. I'm breathing fresh air. I mean, I attributed so much value to those trainings that, every day I'm waiting for my next session. So when you are considering some kind of change or would like to implement some kind of program, please consider to associate and to add as much value to what you do as possible. And this is actually mental work, it's kind of mental strategy. So those three things, if you keep in mind, I think it will make your, it will increase your chances to succeed in whatever strategy you would like to implement, if it's related to fitness or related to other changes in your life. Well, this is pretty much all, and if you have some comments, please, if this video will be in my YouTube channel, please ask me any questions or make some comments. If it's in the Facebook as well, feel free to contact me, and I will continue to update you regarding that 80-20 principle, because I have no intention to stop. Even though I have here in the countryside maybe 1 more month and then I'm getting back to Barcelona, but I will be running there as well. But I'm not sure if we'll be running outside or maybe indoors. But as you can see, even excuse that, oh, it's a hard surfaces, I'm, by the way, running here on a concrete. So yes, I'm on the countryside, but my runs are totally on a hard surfaces, which I know lots of people say that it's kind of dangerous, and I agree. Maybe after maybe several months, it will give some kind of stress to my Achilles and some other. But anyway, 2 months I was kind of watching closely if my body will kind of handle that kind of runs on the hard surfaces. But so far so good. And if I will be running indoors, I think that running belts, they're a little bit more softer. So there is no really excuse not to run. Even people could say, yeah, I mean, it's not good for your kind of for your body to run on the hard surfaces, but actually it works. And just be careful and take it easy and do low intensity kind of training. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you in my next report. Probably I will post it maybe several months later, because I think after this first 7 weeks, where I advanced from total zero to half marathon and under the 2 hours kind of running time, easy running time. So it's not a racing kind of type of time, but easy, pleasurable, and below 2 hours. And I think it could help other people to dismiss their doubts and actually start training. I hope this video will help them to overcome their doubts, because if I was able to do it, anyone can. This is for sure. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching, and see you in my next update. Bye!